FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and, well, today is 5/7/20. Will the economy bounce back? Will we start having conferences, sporting events, all these things? Well, I'm hoping yes, because I just booked my flight for FreedomFest, which is taking place this July and in beautiful, balmy Las Vegas, if they let it happen, that is. And we're going to talk with Mark Skoussen, who runs it, who created it. And in the meantime, what do you think? Should there be conferences allowed in July? Just email us, KL@KerryLutz, KL@KerryLutz, and let us know what you think. So, Mark, it's always great to have you on the show. And, well, so I guess it's a little up in the air, but as far as you're concerned, Freedom Fest is still a go.
Kerry, Freedom Fest is a go. We are freedom lovers. I don't think anything should have been shut down personally. Although, it's really funny how this is just a strange phenomenon where there's no consensus. They always talk about global warming. There's a consensus. 99% believe in human-made global warming. Well, there's no consensus at all on this virus. I was just reading an article in the Washington Post, quoting a couple of New York medical experts. I mean, they are experts, but they say it's 10 to 20 times more lethal than the flu. And the lockdown is totally justified and needs to last till 2021. And meanwhile, there are other viruses created that are really hard to study. I mean, it could be a permanent revolution. He put us into the secular stagnation that everybody keeps talking about, that Tyler Cowen and all these other economists say we're in secular stagnation. Even Peter Thiel talks about that. And I must say, if these kind of draconian measures that force you to close everything and everybody wearing a mask, I mean, it's just hysteria. And so fortunately, the forces of freedom are fighting back and demanding that the economy be open, that one's livelihood is more important than, there's the trade-off, and can you really stop the virus and the deaths and so forth? People are dying, mainly elderly people, young people. There's a study here in Orange County that nobody under 25 has died at all from the virus. So we're getting these mixed signals. We are changing our mock trial. Our mock trial was going to be on the war on drugs, but we've switched it to the pandemic. The response to the pandemic have we gone the right way with the quarantine and economic shutdown? And is it really as bad as it is? And we're going to have experts on both sides. Our mock trial is always the most popular event at Freedom Fest, and we think this is going to be a good one because the experts do disagree and the politicians do disagree. It's just they say we should live in interesting times, but this isn't just interesting. This is a very dangerous time period. And so we're calling for an emergency meeting at Freedom Fest. It'll take place on Monday, the first day of the conference, July 13th at the Paris Resort in Las Vegas. And that assumes that the hotels are going to be open by then. Now, our Paris Resort is saying we're doing everything we can to open up. We'll have to have social distancing and stuff like that. But, I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to pull it together. And as a matter of fact, we're getting a huge response. I think people are just fed up with, they're sick and tired of being cooped up, including yourself, in making trips to, you've made your plans to come to Vegas. We have over 900 people who have already signed up, and that doesn't include speakers and exhibitors. So we basically have 1,100 people who are already signed up. So, And that's with 2 months to go. So we think we'll have a record crowd of 2,500 people. And I don't know where we're going to put them all. We have room if everyone sits next to each other, but with social distancing, who knows? But it's just, we don't want to postpone it. Everybody else is, LibertyCon and, all of these conferences have postponed or canceled for this year. We don't want to do that. I think people really want to get out. They want to meet. They want to see what like-minded, freedom-loving people think. We have everybody, the think tanks and the freedom organizations, Reason and Cato and Heritage, and we even have Hillsdale College and Club for Growth and the Mises Institute coming this year. We've got a lot of people that are coming who did not come in the past. And of course, we have Matt Ridley coming from the UK. We have Tom Woods of the Mises Institute, who is coming for the first time in 10 years. So we have a lot of great people. Plus, I should add that it's the 40th anniversary of my newsletter, Forecast Strategies, and we're going to have a big celebration for that too. So we're very hopeful we'll put it together, and we won't have to postpone. So FreedomFest.com is the website if people are interested in and you can still get $100 off the retail price. So it's a good opportunity if people would like to join us and get out of town for a while.
Absolutely. And we should mention that it starts on Monday, July 13th. Can't wait to see what the movies are this time. And hey, when you look at the response to this pandemic, all right, 65,000 people are dead. We don't even know how many people really from coronavirus. We know that 7,000 deaths that were analyzed in New York State showed that 99.2% of the people who died had comorbidities. And when did we ever have a quarantine where healthy people were locked away to protect the healthy people? And the sick people, obviously, who the people most at risk are. They're the easiest ones to protect, right? And what are we doing here? It makes no sense to me.
And Jeffrey Tucker, who's a regular at Freedom Fest, he wrote a great article for AIER the other day referring to the 1957 Asian flu breakout. And they shut down a few events, but it was nothing compared to what we're doing today. This is unprecedented for sure. And one of the reasons that's justified for what you just said is that, even though you can be a carrier and you don't know it, and so this is why they have every justification in the world for quarantining, for social distancing, for forcing everyone to wear a mask. The airlines are now, you're going to have to wear a mask to fly to Vegas. I
know. Maybe I'll wear a motorcycle helmet on the plane. I
just wanted to mention one other thing, Kerry, and that is, how do you now know the difference between a normal person and a criminal or a terrorist? Because they're going to be running around with these masks too. And you don't know. They are fully justified now. You cannot spot that there's a bad guy there.
You can't. Hey, this is like an episode out of Star Trek, one of them. And
or Twilight Zone.
Yeah, Twilight Zone. But what's amazing is we know that the number of cases reported is a mere fraction of the actual number of cases in the country, right? It could be 10 to 50 times higher, which means that your mortality rate is 10 to 50 times lower as a percentage, which should lead for sound thinking, because when we think of the number of people who will die as a result of the cure to this pandemic, people who couldn't get elective surgery for like cancers, who couldn't get diagnosed for cancers, and that's just one, and then the suicides, the drug overdoses, everything else. Around the world, it will be way, way higher than the number, which we don't even know that we trust the number, because they're throwing in everything but the kitchen sink in places like New York to make a political statement and also to get more money out of the feds. And I might add that today, Germany has opened up everything and they're going to have soccer. Sweden took a different course, and their death rate is no higher than the death rate in the United States per million. And the number of people who've actually died from this thing is statistically nil. Now, that's not to say it's not horrible, especially people who healthy and struck down by this and the toll. But the fact is, as a percentage of population, the number of people, even if we take the number at face value, is quite small. And the actual number of total deaths in the United States for 2020 thus far is below what it was in 2019. So I don't understand the whole thing. It makes me start wondering if conspiracy theories are right.
I know. I'm like you. I'm very skeptical of conspiracy, but it seems like we have an elixir of bad information, ignorance, and political, wanting to do whatever they can to get rid of Trump and the Republicans and endorse their socialist trend. But look, even if the Republicans, even if Trump wins re-election, look what we've saddled our country with the huge debts and the deficits going through the roof and the new regulations and just the precedents of anytime a flu or virus hits us again, and surely the last one isn't the most recent one isn't the last.
Yes.
We're going to be year round wearing these stupid masks, and people, so they think you wear leprosy. You have leprosy if you don't wear a mask, which I've been accused of because I refuse to wear the mask. I'm pretty much a nonconformist, I just don't think, I was on a program last week with Art Laffer, who's a permabull and always optimistic, and he was talking about a V-shaped recovery in the economy. I just don't see it. I see an L-shaped recovery, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I'm very bullish on gold. I think gold is a really good alternative for investors. I mean, I'm in the market, in the stock market, because we are seeing a recovery here. But I don't see us reaching new highs unless we really open up the economy. And you mentioned Germany and sporting events. Well, they may play the sports, but my understanding is there are going to be no fans in the seats. Which, I mean, a game like soccer, football, you can't. That's no fun to play a game when there's any fans in the seats.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is insane. And if they could show some proof that the lockdown was actually working and stopping the spread, but they can't. There is no proof. It's unprovable, other than when you look at the 5 states that didn't order lockdowns and you adjust for population and for population density, their rates were no higher than any other states, with the exception of New York, New Jersey, and the Northeast, densely populated, right? And
the subway, they have the subway systems,
yeah, mass transit where it spread, and they never even closed down the subway at night until last week. You got all these factors, and you have to wonder, the lockdown, what did it really accomplish other than sending us into, at least temporarily, a major global economic depression, arguably 20 million people out of work instantaneously. And then the helicopter money. We didn't even talk about that, Mark. What's your take on the helicopter money?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Financial Survival Network is brought to you today by Orin Resources, a junior exploration company with the appetite of a major. It's hot on the trail of the next globally significant discovery, creating enormous potential upside for you, the shareholder. Orin is one of the most aggressive exploration companies pursuing high-grade, scalable gold gold, and copper deposits, and has a premier 7-project portfolio, including its 2 flagships, Committee Bay in the Arctic and Sombrero in Peru. Oren's unparalleled technical team and highly experienced management has a history of success in advancing and monetizing exploration assets. No wonder Oren's been called one of the best in the junior exploration sector. Oren trades on the TSX and the NYSE under AUG. To learn more, go to aurinresources.com. That's AURYN resources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, they've certainly gotten the, not quite the universal income plan that they wanted, but they're basically sending checks out to everybody, I think, who earned $75,000 or less. Again, this is being financed by deficit spending, and the Federal Reserve is very accommodating. I make the argument that we're going to see a return of inflation, because if you have fewer goods and more money circulating, that probably means inflation. And as a matter of fact, I stopped by the other day at a Del Taco Mexican restaurant, and a price they had at $3.10 suddenly went up to $3.59. And they justified it, say, well, we're charging now when you order onions or something like that. But I thought this is just an indication that inflation is going to come roaring back here.
Yes.
And of course, a lot of people dismiss that and say, no, deflation and negative interest rates are the future. But this is a very, Ludwig von Mises was great about saying not everybody it's not the helicopter situation. Normally, everybody doesn't get the money at once. It's who gets the money first.
Yes.
And with low interest rates and that sort of thing, you can see who the bailouts are. The bailouts are going to a lot of the major corporations who are embarrassed about it and have to return the money. But that's very typical that, the average Joe who's lost his job, what about those people? And getting a check for $1,200 is not going to really do much for that person. The other thing that, Kerry, that hasn't been mentioned particularly, I'm in the university teaching, and of course I'm teaching online now, which is ersatz. It's just it just cannot hold a candle to actual teaching students face to face. It's so difficult to do the experiments and the lessons that I like to teach in the storytelling. It's much more difficult even with Zoom and all of the webinars and that sort of thing. But the tragedy is there are people who are prepared for 4 years to do a recital, to do a special presentation, and all of that is they can do it in front of nobody. Not even their family can show up, and no graduation. 2020 was supposed to be a very unique year, and it's turning out to be a nightmare year.
Yeah, well, Nick Santiago, who's like a master trader, says that years that end with zeros can often be panic years. And 2000, we had Y2K. 2010, we know what happened then. And
we do? 2010?
2010 was right in the aftermath. People were still panicked about the financial crisis, right? 08, 09.
Yeah, I think every 10 years, I don't know if I really buy into, you remind me back in the day, if you're a student of Austrian economics, you know that everything is subjective and cycles vary.
Yeah.
They're not regular. Sunspot theory and whatever. There's no such thing as a Kondratiev cycle and that sort of thing, or a real estate cycle. I used to hear about the 10-year real estate cycle, and it just varies all over the place. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's not.
And it was 2001, not 2000, that we had the 9/11.
Yeah, we had 9/11, but we had Y2K. We had the panic leading up to Y2K in 2000. And then
I don't think there was much of a panic. If you remember, the stock market roared all the way up to the year 2000. And then NASDAQ collapsed after that. So 2000, Y2K was a non-event, right? Because we somehow circumvented it.
Yeah.
But the actual collapse in the NASDAQ and the .com, that did happen in the year 2000.
Absolutely. And the Fed dumped a boatload of money, probably exacerbating those crashes later on. In any event, we'll see what happens here. Hopefully the show will go on. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be there, hopefully not donned in a mask. I mean, people have gotten very creative with his masks. There was a guy wearing a KKK mask, and he was obviously became quite a bone of contention. Not the kind of thing you really want to be joking around with, but I've seen Spider-Man masks and, Batman and crazy things walking around here the streets in Florida. So we got to emphasize again, you need to go over to FreedomFest. That's freedomfest.com. Sign up. We want to see you there. I'm going to have a little meetup for all of my FSN community members. We'll try to get together there.
That'd be a good idea. Great. Yeah.
And hey, it's like the most fun of the year. I look forward to it. I have friends that I only see once a year at Freedom Fest, and others who we always get together there. It's just a lot of fun. And
it's a great reunion of freedom lovers. And it's really, it's meant, that was originally meant, it's not really my conference, it's our conference. And I lost control of Freedom Fest years ago because people come and they set up their own breakout session. They choose their own speakers. They choose their own topic. Nothing has to be approved. I mean, it's true laissez-faire, and I think that's the reason it's been so successful. We're not kowtowing to donors. We're a for-profit event. We don't apologize for our defense of capitalism, and we do a lot of unique things that have lots of. I mean, the exhibit hall is just full of buzzing all the time, and I think it's going to be pretty difficult to engage in social distancing because everybody's going to be so happy to see each other and to get out of town. Yeah,
well, I think one Israeli analyst said that the thing lasts for 70 days, wherever it goes, and the bell curve, and we're already seeing the far end of the bell curve. I think we'll be past it by the time long before Freedom Fest comes up. I'm going to be there regardless, just to protest the fact that it's not there. All right. I'm coming no matter what. So you better do it, Mark. I'm just telling you. I'm going to be there no matter what. So
that's fantastic. Maybe that's what we should all do. And, I was thinking, why don't we let's just rent an old church there or something like that. We'll have a big meeting.
Yeah, or maybe
they'll all be empty.
It'd be great if you could rent the Mob Museum, or maybe you could rent Wayne Newton's old house, or what's his name?
It's got to be a black market activity. As soon as the state authorities find out about it, I'm sure they'll try to shut us down.
Oh, you know what? There's an old hotel that's abandoned by Green Valley, and it's a Hilton. So maybe we could just break in there and just have it. I don't know how we'll get the foods. I don't know if the bathrooms or if there's any power working there. But there's tons of vacant hotels all over.
Yeah, we definitely need air conditioning in July.
Yes, we do. Yeah, so that one's not going to work. But
maybe the Trump Towers. Maybe I could contact the Trump Towers. They'll be open for it because he wants to open up the economy. The Donald
owes you because this was like his first. I was there. It was July of 2015, and he was the last minute guest speaker. It was 3 weeks after the infamous escalator ride down in Trump Towers. And after I got done listening to him, seeing him in action, and I had known him for years, I turned to my friends. I said, that's our next president there. Nobody believed it.
Wow. Good call.
I knew it because he got a pretty warm reception from a bunch of libertarians who are not as natural constituency, to say the least.
I would say half the audience gave him a standing ovation. The other half didn't. But he's been divisive all along, but enough to win election against a weak candidate. And look, let's face it, Biden is another weak candidate. So Trump has a good chance of getting reelected, but a lot of it depends on these governors who keep trying to shut down the economy for political reasons so that the Democrats can win. I mean, I think it's tragic commentary.
That is heinous. That is a crime against humanity, because the fallout and the pain and the suffering that's caused by them jockeying for political advantage, there's no excuse for, and they should be roundly penalized for it by their voters. I think it's turning a lot of people off. Let's hope that that it does work out that way. Anyway, go over to freedomfest.com. If you got a question you want me to forward off to Mark, email me, kl@kerrylutz.com. Of course, you know the Twitter feed's @Kerry Lutz, and our main site is financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Mark, one way or the other, I'm going to see you there in July.
Can't wait. Take care, Kerry. Thank you.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.